Hi everyone, it's Sue from Think Forensic again. Today it's my pleasure to talk to Colin Johnson. Colin is one of only a handful of geographical profilers in the UK. Good afternoon, Colin. Can you tell us a little bit about geographical profiling and what it is?
Okay, that would be fine. It can be called geographical profiling or geographic profiling. They're both the same things, but effectively it's trying to prioritize the area where an investigation is looking for an unknown offender following a crime of some sort, normally an interpersonal crime of violence where a victim and an offender meet together. And it focuses on the times and the locations. So it could be one offence or it could be a series of offences.
So is it like Cracker on the TV?
It's nothing like Cracker at all. And interestingly, Cracker is, if you like, the other side of the fence. With profiling, there are two different types. There's what we call behavioural profiling and geographic or geographical profiling. So Cracker is more around the behavioural profiling and I'm more around the geographical profiling. And the main difference is that the behavioural is looking at the person as an individual, their traits, their behaviours, their age, that sort of thing. Whereas the geography is self-explained within the word. It's about the geography of the offence and the offender. So it's looking where does the person commit their crime or series of crimes, where they come from, where do they leave after the offence, and where are they likely to live, and what are their movements around that. So you can have in one case both a behavioural profiler and a geographic or geographical profiler working together because they're providing hopefully different things for the investigation.
Okay. Can you narrow it down to a very small distance, or is it quite a large area?
It would vary case by case. Every case is different, and some geographical profiling can be very helpful for, and others not necessarily. It all depends on the circumstances and the situation and what is known and what can be identified. But yes, it can narrow down to a very small area, and it's not always just about where the offender might live. It could possibly be trying to identify something that could assist the investigation so that they can stop the offender in an area where he or she or they are looking for to commit another crime, suitable target, suitable victim. So I tried to keep it really simple, but it's already expanding.
I know from previous work that I've done in the past that geographic profiles are quite rare, that we don't have many people in that line of work within this country. How on earth would a young person get into geographic profiling if they wanted to enter into that field?
Okay, there are different ways, but probably a good start is to study something that is related to it. So something like psychology or criminology, something that gives a sort of a background around the general subject area, and then maybe moving on from there. So the most obvious is probably looking at something that's related to the analysis of crime, serious crime. So that would be sort of a normal sort of stepping stone approach, although there's no one single way. And as you've already identified, we're few and far between. So it doesn't mean that you can't do it. And within each force in the United Kingdom, what we try and do is have a resource that has the skills around geography and what we do so that they can support on a regular basis their own forces, with someone like a specialist like myself coming in from time to time for probably the most serious offences.
So we know that geographic profiling can help identify the location of an offender, can it help us identify key areas where offences might occur?
Yes, I mean that's part of the process really, and one of the things that I try and do when I go to a crime to support the investigation is think about what is the best opportunity that the investigation are going to have to try and identify the offender. Now, sometimes that might be around trying to identify where they come from, where they live, the sort of area they're in that way. But on other occasions, depending on the circumstances that are present, it could well be that it may be better to try and identify where the person's going to come back and go to the crime again. Every case is different, and that's part of the way that you look at how you can help, how you can assist in the best possible way, depending on the circumstances and the situations that are presented to you from what's happened.
Is it a new thing, or has it been around for a long time?
Well, interestingly, you can go back to the early 1800s in France, and you had cartographers who were identifying that particular areas had a higher predominance of crime than other areas within like a city. So from that perspective, it's quite old. And then you can find other things that are quite similar to it, that are using the same sorts of principles that are equally quite old. So something like the cholera outbreak, which occurred in the West End of London, the Soho area, that was 1854. And fundamentally what they did was they plotted where people were dying, the location of where they were, and then they established or tried to establish where the people were getting their water from, which was water pumps. So they marked the pumps, and they built this sort of relationship between the proximity of the deaths and the proximity of the different pumps to try and identify whether that could be the root cause of the problem or the outbreak, which effectively it was. And Dr. John Snow, which lots of people have read about, was one of the two people directly involved in that. And those sort of fundamentals in a more sophisticated way give you a sort of an insight into modern geographic profiling.
What we will say at this point is that you do some work with Think Forensic. So if anybody wants any advice on careers or any more information on geographical profiling, if they want to drop us an email, then we can get in touch with you and we'll find out an answer for them, if that's okay.
That'll be perfect. Yes, yeah. I'm always keen to help the next generation, if you like.
That's brilliant, Colin. Thank you very much, and thanks for today.
Okay, thank you. And